Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video, doing the GWV Sunday Round Up for today's second video. As well as on a Sunday, we're going to have your usual eclectic mix of this and that for your Sunday afternoon viewing pleasure. So we're going to start off by looking at solar activity. We'll see what's happening with the oceans. We'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. We'll also see what CFSB2 is suggesting for August as well. So quite a bit to cram in, and I'll get on with it for you in a second. Just to say that today's first video was the fourth analogues update for the autumn. That video is here on the homepage. Just scroll down page a little bit and it's the pollen count. Later on today that video will be placed on the updates on the autumn updates and forecast page, and there'll be a written summary that goes with that as well, so you can come back and have a read of written summary and watch the video whenever you would like to do that. So we'll start off by having a look at solar activity. This is the latest in terms of the solar disk on our side of this today from solarham.net. So completely spotless conditions on the sun at the moment. No sunspots whatsoever. We are currently in a long run of spotless conditions. In fact, it's been 18 days now since we last had a sunspot on the solar disk, on our side of this. So this is the GWV Sunday Roundup Solar Activity Tracker, updated by a good friend James Ackrill up to the 15th of July, up to today. So big thank you to James for updating this and sending it through. And we can see that the trends are moving down now. So the orange line here, that is each individual day's sunspot numbers. We did have a little bit of an increase in sunspots back in July, and so that lifted up our trend lines, which are the thick green and the thick red lines. But you see just here on this part of the chart that we have had that 18-day and counting run of no sunspots on the solar disk. And so that is allowing our trend lines, the thick green and the thick red lines, to start trending downwards once again. You remember that back in the early part of the spring, back in March, we did go through a very, very low level of solar activity indeed, and the trends were virtually down on the bottom of the chart there, and then through the middle and second half of the spring the trend line sort of lifted up. They're moving back downwards now, and I would suspect we will probably be back into this sort of level of solar activity by the time we get through to the autumn. We really are getting on now with this solar minimum. We are moving very rapidly into solar minimum, and so I think these trend lines will be trending down very substantially over the coming sort of month or two. Probably going to be in true solar minimum in around 6 months or so. So we really don't have all that long to wait now before we get to the true solar minimum, which will occur at some point through 2019, I would have thought. A big thank you to James, as I say, for updating the solar tracker. So this is the sea surface temperature anomaly map from NOAA from last week. We did last week's Sunday Roundup. The two areas we're specifically interested, well, three really. We've got the equatorial Pacific Ocean just here. That's the ENSO region. We've got the northern Pacific up there. And then, of course, we've got the northern Atlantic over there. So that's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is the very latest in terms of the oceans. Let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. So very little change. We remain rather warmer than average through the ENSO region at the moment. The sea surface temperature anomalies are lifting up. Of course, we left La Nina behind back in the spring, the cold event that we had during the winter. We are back to ENSO neutral now, and on the warm side of ENSO neutral, and possibly heading towards a weak to moderate El Nino in the next few months. So that's a little bit uncertain whether we do get to a weak El Nino or not, but certainly that's the way the modelling is trending at the moment. It won't be a particularly strong El Nino. I think it's too late now to get a Super Nino going, but we may have a weak El Nino, possibly borderline moderate El Nino by the end of the year. In the northern Pacific Ocean, very little change up there, a mix of cooler and warmer areas. And then in the Atlantic, where we've got this very unusual pattern going on in the Atlantic still. So to the south of Greenland, it remains abnormally cold there with the sea surface temperature anomalies. Also still relatively cool through the tropical Atlantic as well. And then in between, we've got this warmer area just here. So we still keep this reverse tripole at the moment, if you like, with three distinct bands really of cool, warm and cool there through the Northern Atlantic Ocean. You'll notice around the UK the sea surface temperature anomalies have now become very, very warm indeed, and also going down into the Bay of Biscay. Those are shallow waters around the UK, around the coast of Ireland, going down into the Bay of Biscay. They're very shallow, and so they're relatively shallow, and they are prone to very rapid temperature changes with the weather. So because we've had this run of hot weather across Western Europe since well, it's been going on some time now, but probably certainly since June, probably back to May. So because we have this long run of hot weather, the sea surface temperature is in those shallow waters around the UK, Ireland, Bay of Biscay. They are warming very, very quickly, and we are now much warmer than average. Maybe not all that warm in the North Sea, though. You probably expect the North Sea to be a little bit warmer than that is showing. I'm sure those sea surface temperatures will warm up very quickly in the North Sea over the next week or two if we keep these very warm to hot conditions going. We looked at the oceans last week in terms of this unusual sort of cold AMO pattern. Well, we think it's unusual, but we will be seeing a lot of this over the next 20 or 30 years. We will be seeing a lot of cold sea surface temperatures in this area of the North Atlantic as we go into the cold AMO, the cold Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation. The last time we was in the cold AMO was really from the middle of the 1960s through to the early 1990s, and since then, since the middle of the 1990s, we've been in a warm AMO period. So we're not used to seeing colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies up there towards Greenland and in the North Atlantic, because we've been in that warm AMO over the last sort of 20-25 years. But we're going into the cold AMO now, so we will be seeing this a lot more frequently and a lot more regularly as we go through the 2020s and the 2030s as well. We looked last week to see whether this cold AMO pattern could be helping to promote the high pressure that's giving us a hot summer. It is possible that there is something going on there with those cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies. But again, the cold AMO does not guarantee a hot summer, because we know that from the middle of the 1960s through to the early 1990s, we was in the cold AMO, so we would have had sea surface temperature anomaly patterns very similar to what we've got at the moment. And yeah, there were some really hot summers through that period, 75, 76 and into the 1980s. There were some very hot summers as well in the 1980s and early 1990s, but also some very cool summers in that period, particularly in the middle and late 60s, and again through kind of like the late 1970s and through the middle of the 1980s. So it may well be that this sea surface temperature anomaly map is, or sea surface temperature anomaly profile is helping to cause this hot summer. But I suspect there are other factors at work here. I don't think it's just down to those colder than average sea surface temperatures that we have to the south of Greenland. Because if it was, then all of the summers, or nearly all of the summers through those cold AMO years from the middle of the 1960s to the early 1990s would have been hot summers, and obviously they weren't. So clearly there are other factors at work, but it is possible that those colder than average sea surface temperatures to the south of Greenland are having an effect. Let's have the CETs look. We're almost at the halfway point for July now, and also, of course, for the summer of 2018. Of course, meteorological summer is from the 1st of June to the 31st of July, so we're halfway to the 31st of August, I should say. So we're halfway through July, which means that not only are we halfway through July, we're also halfway through statistical meteorological summer as well. And it has been a very, very hot summer so far. So June CT came out at 16.1, an anomaly of nearly 2 degrees above average, with July coming out at 19.6 so far. That's provisional up to the 13th. That is an anomaly of over 3 degrees, getting on for 4 degrees above average, 3.7 degrees above average. If we was to sustain this level of CET through to the end of the month, then this would undoubtedly be one of the hottest months we've ever recorded in the UK. This is from Trevor Harley's website. This is showing all of the CETs going back to 1900, each individual month CET going back to 1900. So we did have a very hot July in 2013. That was the last really hot month that we've had. Came out with a CET of 18.3, cooler than the current July, of course, for the first half of July 2018, which is into the 19s. But that was kind of like our last very hot month back in July 2013. We did have a really warm July in 2014. The summer of 2014 was quite interesting. Had a very, very warm May, June and July combination, and also April as well. Long run of really warm weather. Then it came out with a really cool August in 2014, quite strangely. That was the coolest August since 1993, I think. So that was a very odd summer in 2014. But our last very hot month was in July 2013. But the last time we saw the CET in the 19s for a month was actually back in 2006. July 2006 came out with a CET of 19.7, which is not only the hottest July on record, it's also the hottest month on record. There has never been, back 1659 anyway, where the CET begins, there has never been either a July or a month that has been as hot as that. So we are very, very close actually to having our hottest month on record at the moment. Obviously we have got a way to go for this July. We've got another couple of weeks left, so we'll have to see how things play out. But we are at the very, very top end of the hottest months on record in the UK, certainly in terms of the CET. The only other time we was in the 19s for the centering temperature was a very long time ago. So we scroll back through the 2000s and we scroll back through the 1990s and we go back into 1980s and we come to July 1983. That month had a CET of 19.5, so that was a really, really hot month as well. Other notably hot months over the past few years, so of course we have 1990, August 1990 has a CET of 18.0, July 1989 had a CET of 18.2, and then of course we got the hot summers of the 1990s, particularly notable is 1995. So July 1995 has a CET of 18.6 and August 1995 was actually in the 19s at 19.2. So this summer at the moment is really on a par with these very, very hottest summers that we've had on record. 1997 also had a very hot August, 18.9. Then, of course, got 2003. I'm sure you remember that one, the Heatwave of August 2003. August CET overall for 2003 came out at 18.3. So we're above that quite substantially at the moment. So, as I say, this summer is turning into kind of like the very top end of the hottest summers that we've had in UK weather history. Of course, we're only halfway through, so we've got to see how the second half of the summer pans out. I think it's very, very likely that this box will have a number in the 18s. Whether we sustain the temperature into the 19s and have one of the hottest months on record, that remains to be seen. But certainly a very, very hot spell of weather that we're going through right now. These are GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. Looking at London today, the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. Hot day coming up today. Temperatures are going to be going to or above 30 degrees Celsius in London. It's a men's final of Wimbledon today, and I think it's going to be one of the hottest finals that we've seen for many, many years down there in Wimbledon. So really endurance sort of test for both players and observers, I would have thought. Down there going to be very, very hot. The temperature in the next couple of days is actually going to lower. So we're going to bring a weather front through across the country today and tomorrow. It's in the northwest today. Tomorrow it'll be across central parts of the country. Once it gets out of the way, we will find the temperature lowering through the middle part of the week, returning back to average. It will still be warm, but it'll be less hot than it has been. However, as we go through to the last week of July, this period just here, after a somewhat lower temperature, it does look as though the GFS ensembles are wanting to lift those temperatures back up again. So the suggestion is certainly there that through the final week of July, we could well find the weather turning hotter, the temperature turning hotter once again. Juxtaposed to that, it does look as though we're going to have some showers coming up, although to be honest, this showery interlude that we've been expecting from Wednesday through to the coming weekend looks like it's being pushed back a little bit, and it's not as substantial as it was showing a few days ago. So for the next few days, it looks pretty dry, to be honest, in London. There will be a weather front coming southwards and eastwards today and tomorrow. So the rain is across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. Tomorrow the rain will be through northern England, Wales, southwest England, probably the Midlands, and it might turn a bit thundery actually tomorrow afternoon through those central parts of the country. But down in the far southeast, very little rain down there. And it doesn't look as though there's going to be much rain at all in the southeast until we get through towards the weekend, where we possibly do start to see some showers coming through then. But after that, once that's out of the way, actually a bit of a drying trend again through that final week of July. Certainly doesn't look as though we're breaking things down in terms of the dry spell or the hot spell in the southeast anyway. It will be a bit more unsettled in the north and the west. Temperature anomalies of the week look like that. So it's going from the 14th through the 22nd of July, coming out warmer than average of the UK, Ireland, and much of Northern Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies look like this from the 14th to 22nd of July, close to average. So obviously it's a little bit wetter than we've had for a while, but again, perhaps not quite as much rainfall as we might have been expecting a couple of days ago. It's all very showery, so we're talking about hit and miss showers, downpours, thunderstorms, and so going to be a bit of a nowcast type situation, I think, on both tomorrow and then going through to the end of the week. We'll just have to wait and see just how many showers do get going. This is how things are looking for Wednesday, when we've got a slack flow from off the Atlantic on Wednesday with the GFS. So fair amount of quiet weather then, but as we go through to the end of the week, a little bit of a trough is developing within the 500 millibar flow. That could bring some heavy showers or thunderstorms to parts of the country. I think Friday is the best day for getting some heavy showers and thunderstorms going. That might last into Saturday as well, with this trough close to particularly England and Wales. Next weekend, we lose that area of low pressure. We actually start to build the ridge back up from the Azores once again. So that brings increasingly dry and warm weather next weekend. And then into the final week of July, we still have this area of high pressure ridging across the country. So we'll go back to drier and warmer conditions, I think, next weekend and through to the following week. Beyond that, when we get to day 10, that is the chart for day 10, still more or less under that ridge from the Azores. Just beyond day 10, we start to bring these areas of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. Although to the south and east, we've still got relatively high pressure down there. So this is a little bit more of an unsettled GFS run than we've had for a while. But to be honest, with the south and southeast, I think it's still looking pretty warm and dry for the next week or two down there. Northern, western, central areas will probably have more rainfall than we've had for a while. But even there, perhaps not as much rain as we might have been expecting a couple of days ago. ECMWF looks like that. So again, rather slack conditions on Wednesday, and then through to the end of the week, maybe a little bit more of a trough within the 500 millibar flow. It's a very subtle pattern, how we get this trough going within the 500 millibar flow. It's not a proper area of low pressure. That's what's causing the problems here. If it was a proper area of low pressure, then there will be no problem generating rain from it. In fact, you'll probably have long spells of rain as well as showers. Because it's a very shallow trough within the 500 millibar flow, it makes it very difficult to ascertain just how many showers and storms will be triggered. The trough within the flow looks like it's a little bit deeper, though, on the ECM compared to the GFS. So you'll probably expect more in way of showers and storms at the end of the week from this solution. That's Saturday, with that trough sitting across England and Wales. So there could be some big showers coming through on Saturday, 21st of July. By Sunday, a week away, that trough is slipping down to south, and then we're re-establishing the ridge from the Azores, and that takes into extended range under that high pressure with a drying and warming trend as we're moving into the final week of July. And then finally, for the charts, we've got the GEM. So this is how the GEM is looking. We go through to the end of the week. Again, a little bit more of a being made of this trough for Friday. So again, that might be triggering more in way of heavy showers and thunderstorms compared to what the GFS was showing. And actually, we do almost get an area of low pressure, an actual area of low pressure developing close to the east coast by Saturday the 21st of July. So it's deepening that trough even more on the GEM compared to the ECM or the GFS. So that would definitely bring the chance of heavy showers or thunderstorms, particularly to England and Wales at the end of the week and next weekend. That trough does eventually get out of the way, and then we re-establish the ridge from the Azores as we go through to the final week of July. We are building up that high pressure from the Azores again. So after that showery interlude, we turn it drier and warmer once more through to the final week of July. Going back to the GFS, this is the 5-day accumulated precipitation chart from the Weather Outlook based on that midnight run of the GFS. So you see it is showing some precipitation for some parts of the country. So through parts of the Midlands, Wales and up to northern England, in those areas we've got anything around 20 millimetres of precipitation possible in the coming 5 days. That will primarily and almost exclusively be down to what's happening tomorrow, I think. In the southeast, it's more or less completely dry, though, for the next 5 days. We don't really get any rain at all down to East Anglia and southeastern parts of England. The southwest looks a little bit better through parts of South Wales, southwest England, some precipitation there. And then quite a lot of rain from the far northwest of Scotland down to Northern Ireland. And again, that's from a weather front that we've got up across the northwest of the country today. The 10-day precipitation total, and so this encompasses the thunderstorms that might generate on Friday and into Saturday. So the 10-day precipitation accumulation looks like that. Again, very dry for East Anglia and the far southeast of England. Very little rain getting through there. Northern England through the Midlands into Wales and southwestern England, it looks much better for rainfall in those areas. Bear in mind, we're talking about heavy showers and storms, so even within that wetter area, some places will be unlucky and miss most of the storms and downpours, but at least things look a little bit better for precipitation through northern England, Wales and Midlands and the southwest. And then Scotland and Northern Ireland doing okay for precipitation up there. So it's a struggle to get the rain down into the far southeast. That's the message. There could well be heavy showers and thunderstorms in the week ahead for central and western and northern areas, that down in the extreme southeast, it really looks like it's a struggle to get those storms going. There will be rain tomorrow. This is from Euro 4. This is at Weather Online. You can find a link to Weather Online on the links page. So the rain we're going in the far northwest today will be through southwest Scotland and into sort of northern England, Wales and the southwest of England through the course of tomorrow morning. This is 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, and then through the afternoon, well, through the morning, that front weakens off, but through the afternoon, it kind of peps up a little bit, and this is suggesting that there is a chance of some heavy showers or thunderstorms breaking out tomorrow afternoon through northern England down to the Midlands. Possibly something for Lincolnshire and East Anglia as well. Maybe some storms generating down there. Not getting down into the far south and southeast though. And then by the time you get through to the end of Monday, this is midnight to Tuesday, those showers are rumbling off into the North Sea. They never get down into the south and southeast, and so you'll be left waiting until the end of the week then to try and get some storms down into the south and southeast. But for parts of Wales, parts of Northern England, parts of the Midlands, Lincolnshire, possibly down to East Anglia, maybe North East England, there might be some quite big showers tomorrow, maybe some thunderstorms. And then finally, just having a look at what the CFS is showing for August. So this is how things are looking at the moment in terms of August from the CFS V2. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly that it's showing for August, and it has, or 700 millibar height anomaly that it's showing for August. At the moment, it has this area of above average heights to the north, with below average heights just out to west of Ireland. So this is a little bit of a different pattern for August compared to what we've had recently. The high pressure is a lot further north compared to where it's been through June and July. The high pressure is further north, and so that allows this trough, or it hints at a trough, to be setting up close to the UK. That would be a much more unsettled signal for August, although it's possibly still quite warm, because I think we're still bringing the wind in from a southeast direction, but it would be a more unsettled signal. Temperature anomalies for August at the moment with CFSV2 are looking like that, and they're close to average, so that's a little bit cooler compared to what we've had through June and July. Precipitation anomalies, again, close to average, but possibly hinting at being a little bit wetter than average to the west of the country. It is a different pattern, definitely, than what the CFS is seeing there for August. But, of course, this has still got a couple of weeks to go, so it will be interesting to see whether it starts to move that ridge back down close to us. Finally, for September, I thought I'd just throw this in September. Again, it's showing above average heights, mainly to be to the far northeast of the country. Otherwise, not much else to go on. But again, this is a different pattern compared to what we've had through the earlier summer. Possibly hints at the jet streams coming back southwards. So, reading between the lines, CFS is possibly hinting something a little bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled for August. And possibly in September as well, but that's very speculative. We'll have to wait and see on that. As far as July is concerned, the rest of July, well, at the moment it's been a very, very hot month indeed. As I explained, we are right up there at the moment with the very hottest months that we've ever recorded in the UK, certainly in terms of the central England temperature. It does look as though the next few days will be a little bit cooler, with the temperature a little bit closer to average, but there are also hints that we might start to generate more hot weather as we go through into the final week of July. So by no means certain that we're going to cool this CET down all that significantly from where we are now. As far as rainfall is concerned, yes, there will be hit and miss showers and storms coming and going. Best chance for rain, I think, is going to be tomorrow for central parts of the country, and then probably Friday and Saturday. Probably the best chance of showers or storms at the end of the week. But it is all a bit hit and miss. There's no real area of low pressure around to give us proper wet weather. So some places will get lucky and they'll get showers and storms. Some places will be unlucky and they'll stay dry. And that looks like it's particularly going to be in the southeast, where we are now thinking that the prolonged dry spell will go on for a while yet. Right, so that's your Sunday Roundup. Don't forget to check out the autumn analogues, and that's all for now, and thanks for watching.